I teach at the University of Alabama in Huntsville, and I am a printmaking professor. So I teach all different printmaking processes. I teach woodblock printing, screen print, lithography, I teach book arts and etching, and we have a BFA program there. So most of my students are preparing to get their BFA degree and then potentially to go on and get a master's degree in art. And in addition to teaching, I am a studio artist, so I make my own work. And I'm also I collaborate with a couple of different groups of book artists, so that's something else that I do.
Into Taiwan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have traveled to other countries to work. One of the countries that I've been to a lot is Japan. So in 2004, I went to Japan to study traditional Japanese woodblock printing. And I continued to go back to Japan several times to work with master printers and carvers. I did some book-related projects there as well. And in 2017, I had just returned from a trip to Japan. And I was thinking about, I wanted to broaden my perspective in woodblock printing and printmaking in general, sort of outside of Japan. So I started looking at Asia in general, and I was looking to maybe China or Hong Kong or Taiwan. And the Fulbright program, it offers artists an opportunity to travel to other countries to do specific projects. And I was interested in doing a project about land in Taiwan. So I was really attracted to the mountains here and the canal systems and the wetlands along the river. And so that's what kind of brought me to focus on applying for Fulbright in Taiwan. And so it goes through, your application goes through several stages, 3 different stages. And then in the end, there's a committee that selects who will actually be able to go. And there is a organization called Fulbright Taiwan that's sort of that last group of people. And they bring scholars, there's about 10 every year, that come to Taiwan to do different projects. So I live in Huntsville, Alabama, which is in the southeast. I'm not from there. I was actually born in Seattle, Washington, and I lived in Philadelphia for a long time. So I've lived in lots of different places in the US. The year 2020 was a really intense pandemic year, particularly in America. And so I spent a year pretty much on I wouldn't say it was a lockdown, but it was like we couldn't just go anywhere and we had to be very careful. My classes were all taught online, so I didn't have contact with my students in the classroom. I had to figure out how to teach printmaking online. So I had a very strange year before I came here. And when I came here, it was just so great because it was completely opposite. I remember one of the first things I did was I went on a hike and I came around a corner and there was a group of people singing. And I was like, I haven't heard people sing in real life in over a year. And so it just felt very special. And then what was interesting is when things went to the level 3 shutdown here, it was just a very different experience from being in the US. Because even though I was isolated, I could still move around pretty freely. I felt pretty safe. My apartment in Taipei is very small. So I spent a lot of time outside and would go, I'd get a U-bike and ride along the river for, hours and just spent a lot of time doing things like that. Whereas in America, I spent a lot of time in my house.
It's totally
so I had a very sort of opposite experience that way.
Okay. So actually, your Taiwan life is more outdoor, and American life is indoor.
Where like this person's arm kind of seems like it's coming through here, and then this person's arm is coming through here, and you see this kind of overlap that happens, and then I do the same thing with the trees, and it's really it's very subtle, but it's kind of to show the relationship of the people to each other, and then it's also kind of mimicking that same sort of thing that's happening in the trees, like they're touching, they're overlapping. And I think too, especially with everything that's been happening with COVID, I've been thinking a lot about like touching and not touching, and you know, just sort of what the overlapping represents that.
To give our audience a little bit like background information about our Education Day, is actually we invite thousands of kids to visit our fair. So every year we have a DIY workshop to collaborate with artists, and Katie is our TAIPEI 2021's artist, and she's going to do the DIY workshop with about 100 kids. And this year is a little bit different because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So Katie will visit the elementary schools, not on the fair site as usual. So we are going to the school and really teach the students in the school, and to probably shoot it through the school, like the whole process.
Really happy and excited to have the opportunity. It is something that I have not done before. I mean, I've taught a lot of workshops before, usually to smaller crowds, and usually to adults. And so this is a different kind of experience. I'm really excited to be working with kids. And just have the opportunity to get a view into our TAIPEI and learn about that as well. So I think that, you know, I've been teaching now for many years, but I think that the people that modeled teaching for me were so influential. Like I learned a lot from watching other people teach. And so I hope that I can demonstrate the process in a way that will give new information or ways that these future teachers a chance to learn something new and think about how to bring some of the techniques that I know into their future teaching opportunities. So,
So what do you think that after the DIY workshop, the students can really learn from the workshop? What do you expect their reactions through the DIY workshop? Because they probably will be like 5 years or 6 years in elementary schools. What's your imagination of it?
Well, I'm hoping that everyone will have fun. That seems like the most important thing. I have designed a project that is, I'm calling it a travel notebook with postcards. And so thinking about the idea of exchange and communication and being, either sending things from a distance, being from two different places, sort of thinking about those ideas. And I want to show them a simple stitch. It's not terribly complicated, but it will, I'm sure, be new to them, where they can then, if they wanted to, potentially do it again. Like, it's not super complex. They could make their own books. And I think one of the things that's really exciting about being able to make your own book is that then you can fill it with your own ideas. So the idea that they can bring their own text or their own writing or their own image making into the book, I think is really exciting. So artist books are an art form where the book structure is made by the artist, and then the content inside is also created by the artist. And I went to a graduate program where we focused on book arts and printmaking, and so we learned all the technical background, like things like letterpress, printmaking, bookbinding, and then the idea was to bring all those things together to make original works of art. And so I think one of the things that's great about book arts is that it's very interdisciplinary, brings together a lot of different processes and techniques into an art form.
Okay, let's go to see your artworks.